This is the best exercise to use when you're coaching positional play, but here are some of the biggest mistakes that coaches make when they do it. So the problem I see when a lot of coaches look at this exercise is they'll look at Pep Guardiola doing it, or Man City doing it, and Bayern Munich doing it, and other coaches doing it, and they just assume that the exercise itself is just good enough on its own to give players positional understanding, etc. I see this a lot in warm-ups. I personally have done it a lot in warm-ups, but it's because my players understand what's actually behind it. Why are we doing it? And the big thing as a coach is you've always got to say the why. So just to explain the exercise first and foremost, as you've probably seen it before, you're in an area which is anything sort of between 20 by 10 or even less. It could be 15 by 8. It just depends on what your outcome is, what your age group is that you're working with. I usually find, especially with senior players, the best area to use, which is ironically the similar what Man City used, is actually this bit of space here in this corner. So basically up to the 6-yard line, all the way through the width from box to the touch line, and then just that little bit of space there. Now you might do it in the middle of the pitch like this. You might add the goals in. It can be completely, up to you how you do it. You might make it bigger just to kind of make the running a bit harder, but I tend to find that the most productivity comes out of this is when it's a bit short. So the setup is you'll have 2 teams. So on here you've got the reds versus the yellows, and then you've got 3 neutral players. Now depending on your numbers, I have done this before where you've got an extra blue in there. You might add even another body in there, so it's actually 4 blues, for example, or 5 blues. So it's absolutely fine. It just depends on your setup. Now, I think it works best when I've done it in the past with 4 versus 4 plus 3. Now, the actual structure of the drill is quite a simple one. So the idea is that you've got the reds versus the yellows. The blues play for the team who has possession. And then you're looking to really get the team in possession to play on the outside of the area. Okay, you might add a bit of flexibility in there where you can say you can move a yard in and out. You can move a yard backwards. The line is pretty much just a guide as to how big the pitch should be. And the same with the yellows. So you've got 4 obviously in possession on the outside. So you structure a 2 and a 2, and then you have 4 players in the middle. Okay, now with these players in the middle, what you say to them is they can actually step out. Okay, but maybe no more than a yard. And it's the job of the coach just to manage the drill. So the way it would work, so the team in possession, for example, they can play anywhere they like. They can play to the blue, they can go red to red, they go in to out. They're looking to just try and keep the ball. Okay, now you might start to put conditions on there, so it might be 10 passes equals a goal, or after the 10th pass, if you've added a goal in here or in there, they can maybe score in the goal. Okay, it depends on what you're working on specifically. But their job is to keep that ball, and they can effectively move up and down their line as well. Okay, and the blues as well here, target men can move, and it's really important this middleman. Probably the profiler player is a central midfield player, a pivot player, someone that looks to try and get on the ball and can play first time and things like that around the corner, etc. The yellows, obviously, they're trying to win the ball back. What we say to the yellows is they can tackle anybody. So it's not a case where the ball's just working like a rondo and they're just chasing, or if it's on the outside, it's actually the ball goes to the 2, the 4 can step out and win it. Okay, there's nothing wrong as well with if they're playing that pass, he could step out and intercept it as well. So it doesn't have to just be staying inside your zone. Now, that's the drill. Usually what happens then is, let's say the yellows do win it. So the game transitions. So the yellows would step out and the reds would step in. Now, the first thing that I see when I see coaches do this exercise, the mistake I see is once that ball is lost or won, they allow teams just to kind of stop the game and then just restart with this structure, which maybe when you're working with younger players or when you're doing it for the very first time is okay, and I have done that in the past. But the area you want to get to, the level you want to get to, is actually when this ball goes in here and the red wins it, the game doesn't stop. So we get the transition element in the game. And why I love this drill is because it's got every element of football in there, apart from corners, maybe scoring goals, but you can add goals in there, free kicks, all that kind of stuff, throw-ins probably, but everything else in terms of the game and the pattern of the game can be in here. So as soon as that ball is won there by the reds, it's a transition. If this yellow doesn't react, this ball might already be popped off and now he's now going to have to go and defend. So if he can go straight away to go and press, amazing. You might win the ball back and your teammates don't even have to defend. Well, that's one of the great pressing principles that we look for in players. But also there's a mindset shift from the red. So when the red wins the ball here, it's not a case of just winning the ball and then kicking it out of play. You know, they might have to hold on to the ball and protect pressure. Yeah, they might have to find a pass quickly to get out. They might need to find a switch ball. It might be they win the ball back here in the middle and it's an interception and there's no pass on. Okay, can you dribble out the area? Can you drive into space? Okay, so that's the transition element of the game. But in terms of then the principles in possession, and this is where I think the positional side of things massively come into it. Now, rather than just playing kind of aimlessly, this is where we get some certain principles. Now, what I always say is if you look at the pitch like this, whoever's on the ball here, the deepest blue, we call him the goalkeeper or even the centre back. That means then this might be your left back in a game, that might be your right back in a game, left winger, right winger, centre mid, striker. So now you've got a team shape. And when the ball goes to this player up here, it just flips around the other way. So this is your left back, right back, winger, striker, centre mid still. Okay, so the idea is then we say, okay, what is the best pass you can do in a game? The number one pass that this player can make in a game should always be that one. Okay, straight into your striker. Why? Because you're trying to score goals. Football is about trying to score goals. Okay, yes, you might manage games at different times, but the main aim at the beginning is, can we score a goal? So that's your first thought. Now, that might be done in two ways. That might be a ball over the top. Nothing wrong with that, because now this player's working on their longer distribution and this player has to work on receiving the ball maybe out of the sky. Okay. As that happens, you might also play through. You know, you might miss everybody out and play a great through ball. So again, different type of technique, different type of pass. Now, if you keep doing that, and I would always say, look, if that's on, just do it. And it might be you do it 2 or 3 times and then you ask the question of, okay, well, what would these reds start to do? They'll either try and apply more pressure here, but I reckon the first thing they tend to do is actually they just drop off a little bit. Okay, these guys just anticipate that ball and they're trying to stop it. So now that might create more space in the middle for the centre midfield player. So if he can split those two there and get it into there, he might be able to then find the pass. So rather than playing direct there, it might be one pass and then we're out. And then the same principle going back the other way. Okay. What would then happen is these guys will probably start to close off a bit of that space. So now this player has more space, but also so do these guys. So he probably can't go direct there and probably can't find the midfield player, but can they find a winger? Because it's the next closest player to the target you're trying to get to. So can he try and find this player here? If he does, can he then find the target man and then rinse and repeat? Okay, same on the other side, he might find the 7. Okay, if you start finding those passes, what you'll get is these guys start to shut off in here. Okay, so now if you look where the space is, you're probably going to have to find a fullback. The fullback gets the ball. Their first thought, can they hit the striker? Their second thought, is the middleman open to play forward? Their third thought, can I play down the line? Okay, now if you start doing that quite a lot, you'll then get situations where these reds will start jumping out and maybe getting one side of the pitch when that ball goes into the 4. Okay, so this principle might be, okay, well, we've tried to play through. Now we're looking to go forward there. We can't. This is called now overload to isolate. So we overload the reds this side of the pitch and we might either do a switch like that or a switch back to then go into your winger to then find that player. Okay, the last one that I like to work on is if these players are all getting in the way of trying to hit the target man, we might need to hook and draw them out. So that might be this player comes and plays here. It might be these two players drop right in and we're looking to play these little combination passes, you know, nice and short in here, just to try and get these guys to jump. Okay, and that might be that you can find that one in there, you know, or if they jump together, you go, right, we'll miss you all out again and go to the top. So it's really important the players understand what the principles of play are in there and also understand the fact that as soon as that ball is then lost and won, those transition elements.